Hi, everybody. James Escarcega with the man who is probably the happiest man in the San Gabriel Valley because his UCLA Bruins caught the luckiest break in the world and are playing.
What are you talking about? Survivor Advance, James.
Is Abilene Christian? It's like Damien. Is that who they're playing today?
Play the cards you're dealt with. Abilene Christian's a very good team. They've lost 3 games all year. This is going to be a tough one. But hey, that's why. Hey, just so you can see the letters loud and clear. The hat. We played in about an hour and a half, so hopefully when this comes up later on this evening, I don't look like a fool and they get beaten by Abilene Christian. But right now we're all fired up because we're about an hour and a half before tip-off. But let's talk some football.
Yeah, let's talk some ball here. Yeah, we had
three.
And last week was the first week of football in the area. Rather than go through everything, Freddie, just give me 2 solid takes from your end from last week.
Well, I thought one, Pasadena really surprised me. The game that you covered and how easily they handled Burbank, James. I was really surprised because last year they had a problem with that big 4, the Burbank, Burroughs, Crescenta Valley, Muir. I mean, those are the teams that they've had trouble getting by. They just knocked one off their belt. They're going to play is it Burbank, Burroughs this week?
Yes, Thursday.
On Thursday. And I was just impressed. I was really impressed with them. Second take is Lucerna. I don't know if they are that good or is Muir that bad. I know Muir has some players that, that are not playing because they're committed. One's going to UCLA, one's going to USC. But still, I didn't expect Lucerna to handle them that easy. And another one was, if I could throw a third one in there, there's some of these quarterbacks out there that have just had, great starts, like, the kid over at Maranatha, and we'll talk about this right now, Toby Schmidt, a modern day transfer. I thought Tobin Odell had a pretty good game over, for Bishop Amat, over at Monrovia, Noah Ramirez. I mean, my goodness, 4 touchdowns, ran for 2, 6 touchdowns and all he accounted for. We've got some gunslingers out there.
It's just a shame that we don't have the playoffs this year, Freddie, just to see how Monrovia would have done, because this is one of those teams. It kind of reminds me a little bit just on the face without having looked at them like you did the other night, Freddie, like the South Hills team in 2005 when we won. You play you get a really tough team, you beat them, and then they get that this week with Paraclete. But when you drop them in the playoffs, they're a 1 and 2 seed and they're very tough to beat.
Yeah, they have a really good defense too. I mean, I thought they did a great job. Forget, their offense is one thing and they're going to score points, but man, were they tough on defense. They scored a touchdown late, Northview, that gave them 14 points. But other than that, Monrovia was solid in all phases of the game. And I'll be really interested to see what they do this week against Paraclete.
That'll be an interesting game.
That's a big step up in class. I think you know that too.
At the last minute. Freddie, we have 2 news stories we want to talk about real fast. First was San Marino, and the second is Damien basketball. So go ahead and hit that up quickly.
Well, San Marino canceled its opener this week against Monrovia. They played Crescenta Valley last week and lost, and they had 4 injured players. And I was just talking to them. They only had 22 players to begin with, James, that they thought were varsity ready. They didn't want to bring up any freshmen. They thought that would be unfair. It's not healthy to bring up young kids who aren't ready for the varsity level. And they thought they only had 18 healthy bodies this week, and they weren't going to take it into Monrovia. They want to make sure that they have enough players the rest of the season. They'll have 3 games left. I also think play Monrovia would have, Monrovia looked so good last week after coming off CV. It's kind of a smart move that if you're not healthy to wait a week, and they let Monrovia know in time, James, to schedule a game like Paraclete on Sunday. So I think it's a win-win for everyone. It's not a win that San Marino doesn't get to play, but it's good in the fact they're going to try to play the last 3 games and that Monrovia gets to play.
And then we should mention too about, you just broke the story about Damien and Malik Thomas, our player of the year.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to play this year or not.
Yeah, Malik Thomas, during the offseason when everything was shut down, he was playing for the Veritas Prep basketball team, which is a school that's non-affiliated with the CIF Southern section. For people who don't understand, Prep team is sort of like what LeAngelo Ball played on that made him eligible in high school. It's a team that goes around and plays other high school teams. But the difference here is he didn't enroll in the school. And a lot of these kids who played for Veritas, they weren't taking classes there. They stayed in their school. They looked at it as a club team. And James, everyone was playing on different club teams. There were they were high school baseball players playing on different baseball teams as club teams. So all of these club players are all over the place. I don't know what CIF is going to do with it, but right now, while they're investigating it, they're looking into it, Damien's doing the smart thing and holding Malik Thomas out until they get a decision from CIF on whether he's going to be eligible or ineligible based on playing for that team.
Okay, and Freddie will keep us up to date on that. I couldn't tell you, I did speak with the CIF state official this morning, and they're working very hard on indoor sports to make sure that they get the indoor season completed without all these loops with testing and everything else. So they are working very hard on it.
Yeah, tomorrow night, Damien is scheduled to play San Dimas. They're still not.
Glendora.
Sure.
Is it San Dimas or Glendora?
I'm sorry, Glendora at Damien. Glendora at Damien tomorrow, Tuesday. They are not sure still whether that game is going to be indoors or outdoors. If it's outdoors, it's at 4:00. If it's indoors, it's 6:30. They are trying to seek clarity from CDPH or the LA County Department of Public Health in terms of some clarity about what you can do indoors at the gym. Fans allowed, there's a lot of logistical things that have nothing to do with testing that they need clarity on before they can make that decision. So we should know sometime later this afternoon or early tomorrow morning.
Okay, just make sure you're following Freddie on Twitter, and he'll get you updated on everything that's going on. Let's talk some ball here, Freddie. Let's get some games out of the way here. We're going to go our 3 games of the week for our 3 newspapers and just go rip right through it. And the first one we want to go over, Freddie, I'm going to be at this game, and I can't wait. It's Sonora versus La Habra. This game is at La Habra. La Habra is 2-0. They got their I can't remember a freeway league game in which they got a scare like this against Fullerton last week, in which they won 34-28. And then check this out, Freddie. So Sonora beats Troy 17-6.
Yeah.
They got 2 running backs, Hunter Wickham and Steven Rodriguez, 176 yards rushing and 137 yards rushing. It's going to be an interesting game, pal.
Yeah, one of the reasons too, I moved La Habra ahead of Bishop Amat to number 1 this week. And part of that was, their first win, the last second they find out they've got to play Chaminade, they go on the road and they win that game. Fullerton, who's coached by, I forget his, the old Nogales coach.
Yes, Richard. Go ahead. I'll look it up for a minute. Just go ahead.
Yeah. Coach Richard, great coach over at Nogales, changed the whole face of their program. And you see what's happened to Nogales since he's left, James. So I'm not surprised that he's gone over there and has done a really good job with Fullerton. I was surprised that they took La Habra to overtime, but still, that's probably a pretty good team. And this game this week, James, is probably going to be the one that decides the Freeway League title. I mean, they usually only have 1 or 2 games that might test them. Fullerton was one of those, and Sonora will be that other test. So I think this is the game that's going to decide, the league title. And that's all we're playing for this year. And, I put them to number 1. Those are the 2 best wins on the resume of any high school football teams right now in our area. So, just based on that, I think they deserve the number 1 billing.
You're taking them obviously on Friday night then over Sonora?
Yeah. No, I'm taking, look, La Habra's, La Habra and Bishop Amat to me, there's those 2 teams and there's everyone else that's underneath. So, and until someone can prove me otherwise, and Fullerton almost did it. And I think they had La Habra on the ropes, didn't they, late in that game?
Oh, they sure did.
Yeah,
they were up by a touchdown late. And if the receiver makes the catch about this much, Freddie, it's ball game and over with here. So, it's one of those situations. And then in overtime, they could have scored again, but they fumbled the ball on the 2-yard line. Richard Sandoval, Freddie is the coach over at Fullerton, who worked his magic over at Nogales. They, you saw it for yourself. And I'm telling you, that game is not a fluke. They will have some battles.
That just shows what an excellent coach he is. How he I was so impressed at the way he ran the program at Nogales. So, and remember, he's also, someone who used to coach with Frank Mazzota. He's a disciple of that La Habra program. That's how he got to Nogales and got his first head coaching job. So, he gave the old teacher a scare there on Friday night. But yeah, I like La Habra against Sonora on Friday night.
So do I. So those are two punches there for La Habra. And we mentioned that Fullerton had a quarterback who was a transfer from Servite, and which brings us to the next game on our menu, which is Heritage Christian versus Maranatha. We're going to send Donald Morrison out there, I believe, Freddie, for this one. And here's another Trinity League quarterback who decided he didn't want to stay at a power school. So he goes to a smaller school, which is Toby Schmidt from Mater Dei to Maranatha. He throws for 410 yards last week over Whittier Christian. It's not a bad thing, Freddie, for a change in scenery for guys like Toby Schmidt.
No, guys like that, if they're going to go to the next level, James, a lot of them, they're going to be in high school combines. College coaches are going to see them. Their main thing is they want to play. They want to show their stuff. And over at Maranatha, he can do something like that. And look, you're playing for LeVar Arrington. They've got a great coaching staff over there, guys with NFL resumes. And, beating Whittier Christian 46-7. He also ran for 2 touchdowns. And you said it, 410 yards. I mean, he's only a junior. They've got him this year, and we're going to see him again in the fall. And this just adds to the talent in this area. And I'd like to get out and see this kid, play a game sometime soon. I know it's a shortened season. They're only going to have a couple games left, but he sounds like the real deal, James. And their game this week, both teams are 1-0. This will probably be the game that, for all intents and purposes, decides their league title. So wanted to have someone out there and kind of write about it and to see for themselves. And that'll be Donald Morrison covering the game, what this kid is all about.
So one of the things just to keep in mind, Freddie, with the Olympic League, they're going to take the 2 best teams out of the finish 1-2 in the standings, and they'll play again on the last week of the season for what they're calling the Olympic League Bowl. That's what they're calling it. And it's probably going to be at Maranatha. So this may be, they're going to go through the 2 games and then they'll take an off week, or they can find a game. And then the last week of the season is what they'll call the Olympic League Bowl. And
we got to watch out for Maranatha. We've talked about Damien on the other side wanting to, become one of those powers. And we've seen this happen at schools with Sierra Canyon. God, it was not that long ago. I remember Sierra Canyon was playing Charter Oak for a CI title and playing San Marino in playoffs, and here they are now. They're among the top 10 teams in the entire CI Southern section. Private schools can do that, James. We've seen it with Grace Brethren go from an 8-man football team to one of the best in the section. Damien's trying to do that. You look at Maranatha with LeVar Arrington, and it's not just as Toby Schmidt, a kid they get from Mater Dei. I hear there's some other guys that transferred into the program, and you see them beat Whittier Christian 46-7. I know it's just Whittier Christian, but I'm telling you, it's a program to watch. Them and LaSalle have this little thing going, who's going to be the better private school in Pasadena. St. Francis, La Crescenta kind of owns that title right now. And then LaSalle and Maranatha are 2 schools. They kind of go back and forth. Right now, that edge might be to Maranatha, although LaSalle has a pretty good sophomore quarterback too. But, Maranatha had been kind of going up and down. Steve Bogan had kind of got them as far as he could take them a little bit. But I think you watch Arrington now, what he's going to do and bring that staff in. Parents want players to play for a lot of those guys. So I'll be real curious to what they do over the next year or 2 and going forward as long as he's there.
There'll be something to watch as we go into the fall of 2021, Freddie. We get a full season of football in here. So that's the Pasadena Star News Game of the Week. The Tribune Game of the Week is it's a beauty. It's the opener of the Mission League it's the opener for the Mission League for it's the second game, I should say, in the Mission League. I am mistaken. Alamany's at Bishop Amat. Both teams major questions, Fred. Amat 21-6 over Cathedral last week. You would have thought it'd been a little bit more, but as you noted, first game of the year for Amat. They never come out firing. Alamany defeats Notre Dame 21-9, but the headline in the Daily News said it all, which is Alamany wins, but leaves a lot left to be desired. Freddie, this game's got so many question marks for me.
Yeah, but they're 2 really great teams, James, and both of them are probably have guys that are, players that they're missing that decided to skip out the season because their college commitments. Bishop Amat obviously already has a guy like that with Dyson McCutcheon. Who's going to be going to Washington. He's not playing this year. But both teams also have a lot of talent. Bishop Amat, I expected them to win their first game against Cathedral. You look at their defense, which has always been solid. They hold them to almost 0. It was a 21-0 game until late. It took Bishop Amat a while to get going, which is pretty typical of them. Their first game last year against Diamond Ranch was the same thing. Took them offensively a while to get going. But I really like Tobin Odell, their quarterback. Hayes, their wide receiver. He caught a touchdown pass. He's going to be special. You got to watch for Aiden Ramos. He also scored a touchdown. He's a running back. These are some young guys that are going to be part of this program, James, going forward. And this is probably, could be the game that ultimately decides the Mission League title. You look at Alemany beating Notre Dame. And I know, like Tark said, it left a lot to be desired, but Alemany is always a really good school. And these teams, it's always a great game when they hook up. It's going to be on the NFHS network on Friday. Hoping that I could go and cover that game. Right now, Ahmad isn't letting print media, print photographers in. And look, I covered a lot of UCLA games off TV. Sometimes you got to adapt and overcome. At the end of the day, it's about doing what's right for the players and the fans and the people that want to read about it. So we'll cover the game by hook or by crook. This is the biggest game in the Mission, one of the biggest games this weekend. We'll find a way and hopefully get Coach Haggerty and some players on the phone afterward, and we'll have a good write-up of what happens this week. But I got Ahmad. I think Ahmad's going to win this game.
One of the things to keep in mind, you mentioned a great point. Bishop Vermont doesn't have Dyson McCutcheon. He's going to Washington. Alameda doesn't have Miller Moss to star quarterback. He's going to SC. So we have differing, talent moving all over the place. They're not going to play. So that's a factor to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind.
You had said, it's too bad that we didn't have the CIF playoffs this year. And it's too bad also because there could have been so many surprises, James. Even you think of Mater Dei and Bosco and all those teams at the top, a lot of them have lost so many players who've opted out because of college. It could have been wild to see what teams emerge, going forward in a different kind of, in a weird playoff year. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, we didn't even know if we would have high school football this year. We've got anywhere from 3 to 6 games. So, we'll take it. We'll take it right now.
Yes, sir. I'll take them out too. But just keep in mind, it's Alemany. And you've been there before, Freddie. Strange things always happen when Amont plays Alemany.
Yeah.
Especially in that fourth quarter. A fumble here and a fumble there. And the next thing you know, Alemany pulls it out with a 1-point win. So it's going to be one of those type of games. You just get the feeling, don't you, Freddie? And so, but again, I'll take with you Amont in that situation. So those are the 3 big games on Friday. Let's talk about some of the other games. And Freddie, look at the menu on Thursday. So many intriguing matchups. Let's start with the one you're going to go to, I think.
The menu on Thursday might be better than the games on Friday. I mean,
so let's talk about the game you're going to, Freddie, which is Diamond Ranch at St. Paul. Let it roll, baby.
Yeah, over at the Pit. Usually those 7:30 games are killers on deadline, but it's a Thursday night. So I'm going to write this as an online-only special. Probably won't make our print deadlines. And I'm really curious. Diamond Ranch and Glendora, that was a good game last week that Glendora, barely squeezed out. Diamond Ranch, is one of the top 10, 15 teams in our area. I mean, they just are. They've been like that now for a few years. St. Paul's coming off a appearance, James, is that right? Or is this,
correct. They lost to San Bernardino Aquinas.
Right. So, it's going to be a good game. I mean, those are 2 local heavyweights going at it. I think St. Paul's lost a few guys, but they've been able to reload over there. I expect them to be good again. And I expect St. Paul to probably win at home. It's been a while. You look at Diamond Ranch against Glendora last week. That was a good game because, I knew Glendora had some guys coming back. And so I wasn't sure. And I knew Diamond Ranch had some guys that they graduated, especially the quarterback guys that left the program. So that showed to me that they're very capable. This is going to be a good game this week, James. I'm taking St. Paul to pull it out, but I won't be surprised if Diamond Ranch beats them.
Same with me. You took the words right out of my mouth. I'm going to be interested to see who's going to be the starting quarterback at St. Paul. They've got a battle there right now. One of the quarterbacks is a transfer from Capital Christian up in Sacramento. Don't know how this game's going to play out here, so to speak. I do know that Rick Zepeda had told me that he really likes his secondary. He thinks the back half of his defense is going to be really good. He's got some questions with his front 7, so we'll see how that goes. But I'll take some St. Paul in this situation too. Then we have a doubleheader, Freddie, over at the Rose Bowl. We are going to have a doubleheader. Last week we tried to have a doubleheader, but we couldn't get one in with Pasadena Poly and Rio Hondo Prep. But we'll start, Freddie, with the 3:15 game between Pasadena and Burroughs. And well, Freddie, well, the one thing I will tell you about Pasadena, they hit Burbank in the mouth, and Burbank didn't respond.
Yeah, and Burroughs beat San Marino last week, and the more I learned about that game, San Marino only having maybe 22 healthy players, and I think they beat him. It was 30-7 or 30. It was something like that.
Correct.
That tells me, they didn't just run all over him, force a running clock on him. That San Marino was in the game for some while. So I like Pasadena's chances in a game like this. I mean, obviously they've really turned things around. They've got a really capable quarterback over there. We saw him last year starting to come on. I know Pasadena's win combined with Muir's loss has made some of the Muir people probably a little nervous about that turkey tussle game down the line.
More than a little nervous?
You see
How about a lot nervous?
You see Pasadena on that kind of that upward curve right now, and Muir, you've got a lot of question marks. They're gonna both be in the Rose Bowl on Thursday night, watching each other, I'm sure. God, I like Pasadena. I just like what they did last week, James. I put them in the top 10 this week at number 9. I jumped them in because I thought it was deserving. You covered the game, and I could tell the way you were typing that night. You were pretty impressed with the way that they won and how they went about their business. So if they beat these two Burbank schools to open up the Pacific League,
wow, it's interesting.
CV and all it sounds in the way is CV and Muir. I mean, I never would have thought this quick. You could say PHS could be in contention for a league title, but that's exactly where they are.
Yep. And it says, again, you say what you want about Rob Maxey. The dude can coach. He can really coach, Freddie. And he has those minds.
The assistant coach at Pasadena.
Yes. He can coach. He's got a great offensive mind. The dude knows what he's doing. That's all I'm going to say. And those kids, and they feed off of his chip on his shoulder mentality that he has. And that's one thing I haven't seen in Pasadena in years. I'm taking Pasadena too. It's going to be an interesting game. But if they play like they did on Thursday, it's over. It's over.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
The other game is Muir versus Crescenta Valley. And if Muir thought Lucerna was looking for blood and got it on last Saturday, well, guess who's looking for more blood now? Crescenta Valley. They're not very friendly rivals.
Yeah, I was surprised. I wasn't surprised that Muir got beat because I thought that game could go either way, and I was picking Muir to win. I was just surprised how thoroughly they got beaten, and that they weren't able to score offensively. With the quarterback situation they have, this week is going to tell a lot. If they go into the Rose Bowl and get blown out again by Crescenta Valley, then I think we can write off Muir for much of the rest of the season. In that PHS game, you're right, it's going to get a little scary, James. I don't know if it's just that, they don't have enough of their players playing because they've opted out. I know Deshaun Thompson, who transferred over there from Northview, is he going to be eligible? Is he going to be able to play this week? He wasn't last week. I mean,
we'll be checking the portal.
There are questions that we just don't know. We can't answer. So, you can't beat these teams like Lucerna and CV without a lot of your pistons firing. And if they've got a lot of guys that are sitting out that aren't playing, it's just not going to work. They're going to struggle. So I like Crescenta Valley in this game. It used to be impossible to pick Muir after what they did last week, but this is a game for them to come back and show what they've got, what kind of resolve they've had, because a lot was expected of them this year. They're another one who, they, even though they have some guys not playing, they supposedly have a lot of talent, James. And you can't lose games the way they did when you have a lot of talent.
Yeah, I think it was just a mixture of Lucerna being really good and Muir having a bad night. Now, whether that happens again whether that happens on Thursday, I have no idea, but I just don't trust Muir right now. I just don't trust him. That's just the bottom line. I don't think anybody does if you were in that stadium watching that game on that night. So I'll take Crescenta Valley as well. Freddie, Covina versus Northview is one of those games, in many, many, many years, it's the highlight of the season, especially in the old Valley Vista League, where, two interdistrict rivals going at each other. Then you come into COVID football 2021, and both teams just didn't really catch the eye on Thursday, but they're playing, it's always an emotional game, and it's something. This is big for the kids because this is something they could play for.
Yeah, well, Covina really struggled a lot more than Northview did. Northview was playing Monrovia, and I saw Monrovia's, look, they're just a really good football team. I don't think Northview is as bad as that score looked, 42-14. I think the sophomore quarterback, James Arianes, the son of Jim Arianes, a legendary Northview quarterback and former coach. He's a sophomore. He's going to be really good, James. They were able to run in stretches. Some real bad luck kept them out of the end zone a couple times. But Monrovia was just too good that night, and Monrovia is going to be too good for a lot of these kind of local public teams. Covina, on the other hand, really struggled. Was it Santa Ana they played?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, that was a real lopsided score. So I really look for Northview to bounce back, and I'm feeling a Northview rout this week on Thursday night over Covina. You look at the trajectory where these teams are going right now, and Northview is not as bad as that score looked. That's all I'm going to say.
I agree. Totally agree with you. I think I'll have to take Northview as well. I think it's a great game for the kids. This is the one of those, when you put your bulletin point as a coach, you want to win. This is the rivalry game. This gives you that momentum going for fall 2021 when we get back going again for the full season. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. This, to me, Freddie, is a very intriguing game on Friday. So Claremont is playing at San Dimas. And this is typical San Dimas here. Okay, so check out the stats from Friday, from their win against Garden Grove. Ty Coleman, 110 yards rushing. Jacob Akula, 100 yards rushing. Sophomore Matt Sanchez, 100 yards rushing. So they're running the wing tee. They know they got it right. But Claremont comes in with a 28-0 win over Chino Hills last week. Ricky Murillo, 10 of 18, 173 passing. They got a sophomore running back, Caden Campuzano, rushed for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns. I read Pete Marshall's story that was in the Daily Bulletin the next day. He seemed to be pretty impressed with Claremont. This is an intriguing game.
Yeah, this is a game that I think we've got to find a way to cover somehow, James, because, like you said, Claremont looked really good last week. San Dimas with Coleman and Bucola, they looked really good last week. San Dimas is coming off of a semifinal, appearance in 2019. This is a great game that could probably go either way. I think I like San Dimas though. I think teams that play that wing team or don't see it a lot have trouble with it. San Dimas seems to be able to exploit those teams that aren't used to seeing it a lot. But it's a close game to call. Claremont traditionally plays better. Plays a little tougher schedule. This is an intriguing game, especially based on what both teams did last week. This might be the best teams that both of these teams play all season.
Who are you taking, pal?
I'm taking San Dimas. I'm going to take San Dimas at home.
I'm going to take Claremont here. I'm going to take the other side here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a close game. I can see this one. I can see final position winning the game.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Last one here, Freddie. Lucerna versus El Rancho at Cal High. Our man John Sherrard's will cover this game for us. My two takeaways from this matchup: one, Lucerna's really good, and El Rancho, I was told, won, but the definition of ugly win would pretty much describe it all.
Yeah, well, they always tell me that you shouldn't pick games going based on who beats who in the previous games, but I'm going to here, James. El Rancho struggled to put away Whittier team that was 1-9 in 2019. How they struggled to put them away, I was kind of surprised. I thought that would be a blowout game. Lucerna and Mir, 2019 finalists, I thought was going to be the showdown on Saturday night. Turned out to be a Lucerna rout. So I'm putting 2 and 2 together here, James. El Rancho and Lucerna. This is a blowout, right? This is a blowout waiting. I love Adrian Madrano over at El Rancho. I know those are a bunch of tough guys with a lot of pride, but better is just better, James. And sometimes there's nothing you could do about that. Sometimes, as Coach Gainer would say, you just got more bullets in the chamber. That's going to be the case with Lucerna on Friday night.
You're supposed to say it, Freddie. You gotta have the bullets. You gotta have the bullets, Freddie. You don't have the bullets, you're in trouble. Just Lucerna defensively, Freddie, is just in another area code right now in that area. They 11 men.
Another reason why without having CI playoffs, it's too bad a team doesn't get to show itself in a postseason when it looks like you have a strong team like this. I know
but you have to give credit where credit is due. Andy George has got that program going. It looks like a Tesla stock. It's going so high right now, Freddie. I mean, they can't do no wrong. Every year they're winning league championships and they're making these deep runs in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember, I don't think people remember this. Remember in 2017 when St. Francis made that big run and made it to the finals?
Yeah.
You know who their toughest game was against? Lucerna.
I'm watching all of these games in full. I'm watching La Habra play well, James, and you've seen what Lucerna did. We got Glendora over here and Monrovia playing games. And I'm telling myself, this shortened season, one thing I wish these teams had done, and it's too late now, is left that April 16th week wide open. And that they played these league games starting a week, finished league a week earlier. So that week we could do matchup games and say, what are the best? How good would it have been to see Lucerna play La Habra in that April 16th game? How great would it be to maybe at this point see Glendora play Monrovia in that April 16th game? There's a lot of matchups that could be made for that final game of the season that we could call bowl games or championships. And I looked at that schedule, and a lot of these games are just kind of last league games. They won't mean a lot. There's nothing we could do about it now, but you want to see some of these matchups. You wish things could be rearranged during the season. Monrovia couldn't play San Marino this week. They get Paraclete. I got kind of excited for that game. I said, well, in a season like this, when you're not playing for championships, here's a championship style game. Let's play it on Friday night.
Look at those. Yeah.
It's too bad that we don't have enough of those, and that you don't see teams willing to get out of this league thing that they're in and say, hey, let's trade games for the good of the cause to make these best matchups possible. I know it can't be done, but God, I would have loved to see a La Habra Lucerna game this year, or even a St. Paul Lucerna game, down the line. Games like this that you just want to see that we're not going to see, and there won't be playoffs. And that's just me venting, closing out the drill.
It's okay.
For UCLA to come on in a couple minutes and move me to the Sweet 16.
You're allowed to say it. You're allowed to have that feeling, Freddie. It's good. Having been, and I remember going to that St. Paul Lucerna game last year, a few years ago, Freddie. It was what made it so great. It was a neighborhood game. Kids who have seen each other, who played against each other in Pop Warner, whatever, one last time, and the atmosphere was so electric. I will never forget.
Final week should have been left open. That's when Sierra Vista should be playing Baldwin Park. They're not playing this year. There's no excuse for that. But I'm just saying, everyone should have left that final week open. I almost wish CIF would extend the season 1 week like they've done up north to allow teams to play that bowl-type game. Wouldn't that be special? Here's our plea. CIF Southern Section, extend the season 1 more week and let teams have their bowl games that week after the 16th, the one and done to send everybody off.
You know who's playing that extra week, Freddie, too, is the LA City section. They've extended that week out to the 23rd.
So let's do it. What we're finding out now, one of the reasons I think CIF wanted to end it early is because of the multi-sport athlete, James. Kids have already made that decision. We're seeing that at San Marino. That's why they have 24 players. Kids who are going to play baseball are already playing baseball. Northview could have had a couple of kids from Bishop Amat that play football that transferred over there. They're playing baseball. They're not playing. So it doesn't really matter. We're not going to have 2-sport athletes. They're all choosing their sports. So why couldn't football go 1 more week? The LA City section has done it. CIF State is allowing it to happen. Let's do it and have one just to set up for the teams that want to have bowl game situations. Hey, maybe you and I could be part of a committee that puts some of the best games together in the San Gabriel Valley. That's a column. I think that's a column coming. What do you think?
I think it is a column for you, Freddie. That'd be great. I'll just move to the side and let you have the microphone to yourself.
You say go to the end to Freddie's idea for the and 1 week.
Exactly. It'll be fun. It'll be
1 week.
It would be fun. But do we have to play the cards that we are dealt with, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to pull an ace out of the back of my sleeve, James.
Freddie, Friday, we got the one-stop shop is back again. I saw that, Freddie. I love it.
Yeah, kind of a quick little surprise. So at the end of the night, I'll grab all of the stories that we covered. I'll round up all the scores and I'll put that on what we call our one-stop shop. So you can read all of the game stories on one thread, see all of the scores from the local area, and it's just the easiest way to put everything together so you're not clicking all over the place, James. And you get to see all our game stories. We have 4 or 5, possibly 6 game stories that we're going to cover this week. We'll know when we borrow stories from the rest of our group what's happening, but it's looking like a pretty good Friday night. Plus the 2 games we're doing on Thursday.
Awesome. And if you're a print guy, the Saturday page looked terrific. We got color photos, scoreboards, game stories from our games of the week. They're all on the page. It's easy subscription. There's no reason why you can't get involved here. All right, Freddie. Good luck to your goody little Bruins tonight, as we like to say. They got a lucky break to the next round of the playoffs. I'm happy to see that, and we'll just
in about 45 minutes, James.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Freddie, we'll see you next week for another. By the time we get this done here, next week we're halfway home for football.
See.
Oh boy.
All right, I'll see you, James.
Okay, thanks, Freddie. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll see you all next week.